Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shiji Buzz. Today, we're tackling a hot topic in technology, artificial intelligence. AI received a huge boost recently with the release of ChatGPT, which has opened our eyes to the transformative potential of artificial intelligence. But what exactly does AI mean for hotels? Today, we've assembled a panel of experts to explain key concepts in AI, how AI is being used in hotel technology today, and how it may evolve in the future. A big welcome to our panelists, Klaus Kohlmeier, Chief Evangelist at Ideas. Klaus, welcome.
Thank
Sebastian
you very much.
Felix. Sebastian Felix, founder and CEO at Influence Society. Sebastian, welcome. And Rafael Patino, Chief Product Officer at Shiji Review Pro.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
And welcome to all of you. Now, each of you has a bit of a different expertise, so I'm looking forward to digging into the questions. My name is Daniel Craig, and I'm the founder of Renown, and I'm hosting today's panel on behalf of Shiji Group. For those of you who have attended my webinars previously with Review Pro, you'll note that the Shiji Buzz format is a bit different. No PowerPoint slides, no bullet points, just lively, high-level conversations about hot topics in the hotel industry. Now, all of you will receive an email with a link to the recorded session after the webinar, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. But for now, let's jump into our topics. Rafael, I'd like to start with you. How would you define AI, and what makes it different from advanced computing?
Well, thank you, Daniel, and hello, everyone, again. So, to be honest, the concept of AI might vary depending on where you read it, right? But I mean, if you wanted to have some sort of general concept, AI might refer to the development of computer systems that perform tasks like usually will require some human knowledge, or systems that try to mimic human behavior. So we might be talking about the specific tasks such as image recognition, problem solving, language understanding, a very, very popular one, pattern recognition, decision making, and the last one, and very, very on vogue in these days, is learning and creativity. Of course, all of this is based on very advanced models, and concepts which are around the AI domain. And we can talk here about concepts such as machine learning, neural networks, deep learning, and many others. But the reality is that on top of this, AI today is present in many of the products you use in your day-to-day. iPhone is a good example, or the mobiles in general use AI in many applications. So Siri, which could be the most evident example, but face recognition from the phones, the camera to improve significantly the pictures taken by the different lens. Even the device performance is managed by AI models. I mean, Instagram, Snapchat, all of this use very strong AI models behind Xsense to always offer you the most relevant content for you, to keep you stick to your phone 24/7. This is a very hard work, to be honest, and not even talk about Netflix and Spotify. So many people might rely or relate AI very weird concept. No, it's in your day-to-day. It's in everything, almost in every single system you use today. So I think the most important thing about the AI is the ability to learn, is the ability to use algorithm to learn and create patterns that allow you to make predictions of the output. So the data and the way you validate the data you use to create this model is almost like gold, is like the base of everything. So, and then on the other hand, you might have advanced computation. So they refer more to sophisticated algorithm, mathematical models, and computational method that help you to solve complex problems, okay? To process large amount of data and execute very complex algorithms within the system. And here you can find examples as high performance computing or supercomputers, computational science, which mixed the computer sciences with the specific topics such as finance, math, and many other science combined within the computational science, and big data, the big data analytics to process huge amount of data and complex algorithm in milliseconds. And just to close, I think a good example will be in Review Pro, the creation of the GRI. So the development of the GRI required like to process millions of data points in minutes to calculate our GRI and the algorithm using big data, using advanced computing, using all of this concept. Then AI, you can say we use it is more to get all of these data points, combine them, connect the dots, and identify patterns. So we can provide you with very good summarization of the information and very strong insight for our clients. So hopefully that explained better the two concepts.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Rafael. I think anybody I ask for a definition of AI, everybody comes up with a different definition. It's such a complex topic. Now, I want to dig a bit deeper into machine learning. And Klaus, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about machine learning, and does every AI application feature machine learning?
Yeah, thanks, and great explanation by Rafael. Thanks for having me on the webinar. When you look at AI at a very broad level, there's a few capabilities that are kind of encapsulated within AI, and Rafael mentioned some of them already. You have machine learning, you have deep learning, you have computer vision, you have NLP, natural language processing, you have forecasting, you have a whole bunch of optimizations, and then you have large language models and other things, right? So machine learning is kind of a subset of artificial intelligence. And machine learning, very simply, is to throw a whole bunch of data at a computer and teach the computer to what should be done with that data, and what should the computer learn from the data that you're throwing at it. And based on the teaching that you do, the computer will then understand kind of what kind of decisions should be made with the data that comes, with similar data that comes in the future. Right? Image processing is a very good example of that. You throw somebody millions and millions of images of a flower, and you teach them what kind of flower it is. After a while, the computer will tell you without any additional programming what kind of flower the computer has identified. So I don't know if you've ever used kind of a flower identification app on your phone. That's a pretty good example of machine learning. So machine learning is really a whole bunch of data that gets thrown at the computer, and the computer understands it, knows how to interpret it, and then turns it into information.
So Klaus, a lot of people in hotel tech are throwing around the artificial intelligence term. So one of the critical differences that separates advanced computing with actual artificial intelligence is that we're moving away from rules-based and pre-programmed systems to true machine learning.
Yeah, machine learning has been around for a long time, right? It's nothing new. I mean, you go back 30, 40 years, machine learning has been used in many, many different systems. So it's not something that we've just kind of developed overnight. I guess it's getting more traction and more interest now with everything that's happening. But machine learning, we as a company have been around for 30 years, and we use machine learning capabilities kind of since our beginning, right? We throw a whole bunch of data at the system, billions and billions of data points every day, and then the system comes up, in our case, with the right pricing decisions. And we do that automatically, right? We don't make recommendations, we make decisions in real time. So as computing power advances and processing power advances, decisions that are being made can become more and more complex and quicker and quicker. And the amount of data that's being generated, I just read recently, it's supposed to be 175 zettabytes of data by 2025, which is ginormous if you think about it. With the amount of data that's being generated, you just need more and more computing power and more sophisticated algorithms to process that data.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I want to get back to how AI is being used in revenue management technology, but let's talk a bit about ChatGPT. And we have our resident hotel technology specialist in ChatGPT, Sebastian. Can you tell us a little bit about what ChatGPT is and what all the fuss is about?
Yeah, hi. everybody. Thank you, Daniel. So ChatGPT is one of the application we can use right now on artificial intelligence. So ChatGPT is a chatbot developed by a company called OpenAI. I'm sure everybody already tried it in the audience. So right now it's only about text, but they are promising ChatGPT will be also allowed to generate images in the next version. So you have ChatGPT and GPT. So GPT is what they called the LLM, so the large language model. So this is a machine learning that is used to translate what a human can type, can prompt to something where a machine can generate a text. So ChatGPT is a text interface where you can prompt something and the machine will generate you an answer. For now, ChatGPT only learned the web since 2021, meaning you cannot speak with ChatGPT with a current event. And they scanned a huge amount of data, as Klaus just said before. Just to represent yourself, but Wikipedia is only 0.3% of ChatGPT, the only Wikipedia. You can also use right now ChatGPT inside Bing because, as you may know, Microsoft invested like 10 billion, I think, the last years into ChatGPT. And if you go on the new Bing, you can have access to ChatGPT 4 inside Bing. So it's a whole new experience for the search. We are really waiting Google with the competitor of ChatGPT. Hopefully, it will be released for everybody by June, as they said. We will see. One metric I always have in mind: ChatGPT is now more than 100 million users. They reach 100 million users in 2 months. And if you compare, Instagram reached this amount of users in 3 years. So that's why it's the first about it right now, and it's getting more and more popular. And more recently, ChatGPT, they released something called plugins. So you can connect ChatGPT to the real internet, not 2021. And we have some interesting demo about it, like Expedia, Kayak, and Booking. They already launched a ChatGPT plugin, which is incredible. You can literally prepare your holiday just by chatting with an AI, and it will give you all data you have inside Expedia. So trip plan, price for plane, price for hotel, recommendation on what to do, and everything. Yeah.
That's interesting because I tried out Expedia, their chatbot, which is connected to ChatGPT, and it wasn't very helpful, in part because the information it has access to is from 2021. So it couldn't really tell me what the best hotels in Paris were, or the cheapest hotels in Paris for this summer. And also, but now you say there's a plugin so that information will be up to date from the live internet. So essentially real time, correct?
Yeah. And I think the big thing about ChatGPT is really what's coming, because now everybody can have access to ChatGPT. And if you pay 20 euros a month, you can have also the ChatGPT Plus with more intelligence. But what the other model is, you can connect a set of data to OpenAI API, and you can basically build your own ChatGPT for your needs. And I think in the next months and years, what we'll be seeing, more and more companies will try to connect their own data set to create their own ChatGPT. And I believe hotel groups will try to create this to have all the intelligence, like their revenue, their marketing, the sales intelligence, into one global chat that will be able to reply to almost anything in-house or for their customer, but with their own data set. I think
With their own
this is
data
the
set.
future.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and that's certainly a huge application for hotels if you can use your own data set. Now that leads me to my next question, but first I'm curious, our listeners, how many people out there, tell us in chat, are you using Chat GPT or another generative AI application? How often are you using it? And maybe I'll read off some of your answers, but in the meantime, my next question for you, Sebastian, is what are some examples of applications for Chat GPT and other generative AI that hoteliers can use today?
Yeah, so I have three in mind, really concrete. So the first one is linked to my Expedia example, the personalized recommendation. Let's say you are a hotel offering many different type of offers for your guest, and one of your guests came last year and they stayed at your place. They maybe booked a vineyard activity, and they also had a dinner in an Italian restaurant. And this is the kind of data a lot of hotels have right now. With ChatGPT, you can, for example, load a bunch of data like this about your customers, and it can automatically create packages, sales offers, and even book like the right restaurant for the right audience when you need it, you know. So this is happening with plugins, but this is a way to use it. Another example is for trainings. I think we underestimate ChatGPT for training someone else. And basically, it's something I'm doing a lot personally, but try to go on ChatGPT and you ask ChatGPT, act as a teacher, act as a mentor, and try to give me information so I can learn a new topic. And this is really absolutely amazing. Because I know even for language translation, many people are just going in ChatGPT and say, please translate me this text to this language. But if you say, translate, but teach me why I should formulate my sentence this way, ChatGPT will guide you and become a teacher. And I think this about learning is a huge opportunity for Hotelier to train the staff. And tomorrow we'll be able to see ChatGPT connected to LMS, where you have all the training of the hotel. And during an employee onboarding process, ChatGPT will be able, for example, to adapt to your own learning pace, because everybody is learning differently. Also, you can copy paste a huge amount of data and ask ChatGPT to give you a test. So to create a test, a Q&A with 10 questions for your employee. This is absolutely also unique to use, but it's working well. And the last example also I want to mention, because it's many of my clients are using ChatGPT for this. It's for social media and marketing in general. I think this is probably one of the fastest, let's say, industry that adopted ChatGPT, marketing and sales, because with ChatGPT, you can literally generate text, create your Instagram calendar, create text for your website, create text for your newsletter. And it has been really working well for the hotel. I know we started to using a few months ago.
I think we need to change your title, Sebastian, to like Klaus has in his title, to Chief Evangelist for ChatGPT. You're a big fan, it sounds like, and you've been training hoteliers. You've created a guide, and you've been training hoteliers. Are you getting a lot of interest from hoteliers in ChatGPT and other?
Yeah, so yeah. So for now, we are doing it mostly for sales and marketing, because as I said, it's probably where it goes the fastest right now. I know in terms of revenue management also, many things can be possible, but it's not my focus right now at the moment. But many sales and marketing team are still coming to us, and they are asking us, hey, I have a lot of people I know they are using it in-house, but we want to have a bit of control. Because the problem also is if you copy your private data inside ChatGPT, you can have some surprise, because your data can be used also by ChatGPT. So I have a lot of hoteliers that have these security questions also that are rising by the usage of ChatGPT. Yeah.
Let's go to our chat here and see. We asked listeners if you're using ChatGPT and generative AI. And Christine says ChatGPT daily, Notion AI and Taplio AI daily. I haven't even heard of those, I'm embarrassed to admit, but there's so many different, every day I learn about a different application that I have to check out. We use ChatGPT to create a more specific content to images of the resorts. Okay, there you go, Sebastian, using that for sales and marketing. Roy tells us almost once every week, it's very helpful to answer quite easy questions where Google is having difficulties with. Yeah, it's so amazing how differences in responses we're getting from ChatGPT versus Google. Mundane tells us, I use ChatGPT occasionally to build packages for marketing purposes, so my package descriptions are more appealing to the booker. Okay, so again, using it for marketing, revenue management. And then finally, we'll just have a look at one more. Sabrina tells us at least once a week, looking for information, asking for lists and recommendations. Then I go check the option myself. So a start of new research. Absolutely. Before the webinar started, I asked our panelists and crew at Shiji Review Pro if they're using ChatGPT, and virtually all of us are using it almost daily, which is really incredible. There just hasn't been an app that has infiltrated our lives to that extent so quickly. But we are talking more broadly about AI today, not just ChatGPT. And I want to get back to Raphael, because Shiji Review Pro was an early adopter of AI, as you mentioned. Can you tell us a little bit about how you are using AI in your products today, Raphael?
Sure, Daniel. We start using AI in Review Pro since quite some time back. Let's call it this way. So we developed semantic analysis very in early stages of the company creation. We basically launched online reputation together with a semantic analysis in the early stages of the company. Semantic analysis in general terms use several AI techniques, such as natural language processing, and you can say also machine learning, because all of the learning and all of the teach of the model happen using what Klaus explained as machine learning, exactly in that way. And basically, we use this to teach the system and to identify when somebody mentioned within a review something about one of the key attributes specifically related with hotels and restaurants. We're able to separate those, identify that specific concept in many ways. You can mention that concept, and then analyze the phrase and identify the sentiment. But what that means for hoteliers. So basically what we do is provide with the ability to analyze like a complete crazy amount of feedback. So a given hotel could be receiving thousands of reviews in a given month. So what we do is go through all of these thousands of reviews like nobody have time to read. The system decode this in pieces, separate all of this in concepts, analyze the sentiment, and aggregate this data up. What that means, we are able to provide you with a very good and concise set of insights for you to use these information to improve your operations, to improve your CapEx, to identify possible problems, and very important as well, we correlate that data with existing indexes such as the GRI, in the department indexes, and so on. So we can provide you with a clear example of which of these attributes from your hotel might be affecting your overall satisfaction. So your guest satisfaction. We have all of these models in place. And I mean, for everybody, if it's to be super clear, a given review might contain several mentions. I mean, you could be having a guest speaking about the service in one phrase and could be talking about the restaurants in another. So what we do is that we separate, we identify, we tag these different phrases or mentions, and we apply the sentiment analysis to understand if they are speaking positively, neutral, or negatively about that specific concept. With that information, we give you a good sense of how your guests are perceiving your hotel, and very good tools to improve your operation on a daily basis. Okay, that's one of the usage. We have also implemented our virtual assistant, okay, which is one of our latest product. It's basically a conversational AI product which use behind existing neural networks, which allow basically to understand the request from the guest and create advanced dialogue management, which in English means that we provide with a virtual assistant basically to remove all of the repetitive questions from the guest. So we free up resources so they can expend the time interacting with the guest, no? And having like real conversation with the guest, so engagement up and improving the guest experience. Okay, this include, of course, the ability not only to capture all of these typical requests and be able to respond to those, we are also able to identify a bit of more complex requests, such as book a room, housekeeping, room service, which require more flow management. And the system is also able to identify and provide the guest with a good experience to receive all of these services. For us, the most important thing was on top of the AI model, which is crucial, was the scalability of the model and the data collection. So all of this was very big part of how we, from a very attribute-based data collection, are able to generate real conversations with the guest. Okay, and last but not least, we're applying, since these models appears on the space, GPT models. So to improve detection, to improve the conversational capabilities of our AI models. And we don't talk a lot about this, also to generate patterns and correlation of the data. Remember, this system are not only to respond great, are also good to consume a lot of data and provide generalized responses and summarization, which is key to provide with good insights to our clients.
Let me ask you, Rafael, are you looking into having AI respond to reviews on behalf of hoteliers? Because tell you, I've been experimenting with this in ChatGPT a bit, and I looked at a hotel manager's response to a review, and then I plugged it into ChatGPT, gave it a bit of coaching, and then compared the two responses. And I have to say, the ChatGPT response was better, technically better. It ticked off all the boxes, although there maybe was a lack of soul or a lack of, only maybe because I knew it was computer generated. But where's this going? Is that something you're looking into? Definitely.
We strongly believe on this. What we've been doing is being cautious in how we implement it. So we have a very serious investigation right now, which is pretty advanced. So we are about just to come back with very good news for our clients in terms of AI model capable to generate responses that you have the ultimate decision to use it or tweak it or manage it. I mean, what we are avoiding right now is any direct response to the guest, of course. But the model is very important, and the way you generate the response and you manage the customization of each of the hotel and the needs of each of the hotel is the key of the AI review responses.
So not fully automated, because of course, one of the hardest things to do responding to reviews is just get started. What do you say? And so to provide, and I think we all use ChatGPT in this way, sometimes plug in a question, it gives you the response. You don't use that response, but it's a great start to editing the response.
And I don't know how much ChatGPT is being used, but everything is about iteration, and how you manage the prompt is the key of the ChatGPT. So you send the first prompt, maybe it's not perfect. You improve the prompt, and you keep playing until you find the state of the art of the way to create a request to the model. So
that is
part of the game.
Constantly go back. Not good enough. Improve.
Give context. I will just add to give as much as you can context, because I see many people, they just put a phrase, put a question. You can have prompt of 1 page if you want, with a lot of things inside. So don't be shy.
Right.
Detail context. What you want. Yeah.
Absolutely. Coach it. Give it context. Klaus, I want to get back to you because Ideas was another early adopter of AI. Can you tell us about how you're using AI in revenue management systems?
Yeah, sure. And it's great to see how many people are kind of playing around with all the different tools that are out there. A lot of them that I haven't heard of before either. Yeah, as I mentioned before, from the beginning of our existence 30 years ago, we've always been focused on making automated decisions for hotels and not just provide recommendations like other revenue management system providers. So we've always used kind of the power of computing and power technology to automate the full kind of end-to-end processes. So where we use AI, one is in the configuration of the system. We learn from the 28,000 properties that we have around the world, and kind of we understand kind of how a system should be configured from that. So we use big data learning and machine learning to completely automate configurations and cut down the time it takes for people to actually configure a system. So it comes auto-configured and pre-configured, and that the user just has to check that the configurations are correct. So that's one that reduces time and increases productivity. On the analytics side, we have data clustering and segmentation. So we automatically segment the data that we get from hotels into analytical segments rather than the general market segments that hotels might use. So we use a different segmentation than the hotel does. So we can put the data that we gather into forecasting groups and segment groups. And then we automatically assign the different forecasting models according to what needs to be solved. We have a very large library of different forecasting models, and the system automatically decides if a particular forecasting model should be applied for a particular situation. So we have a library of hundreds of models. Let's say there is a group forecasting model or a function-based forecasting model would use differently than a transient forecasting model. And within transient, the leisure model would be used differently than a business forecasting model. So we have a very large library of that, and the system automatically decides which model should be applied to what situation within a hotel or across multiple hotels. And then we can also understand kind of how the system should adjust itself. So every time a decision is made and the reaction happens, somebody books or doesn't book the room at the price that we decide should be sent to the channels. The system then learns from that and says, okay, I've now learned what that price, how price sensitivity and everything else works, and I need to adjust my approach or not for the next reservation that comes in. So it's a completely auto-learning experience. So we go from configuration to grouping the data in the right way, to choosing the right forecasting model, to actually self-learning. The system is actually self-learning as it goes along.
So AI seems to be perfect for revenue management in many respects because there's just so much data involved. I mean, imagine trying to do all that
just
work.
as an example, we recently turned on a hotel in a very large location, and just the moment we turned it on, we had to send 14 million decisions out into the channels. So the data, and we collect and we make 10 billion pricing decisions every day across the 28,000 hotels that we have. So the amount of data we are dealing with is absolutely massive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just gonna say, imagine trying to do that manually with Excel. Curious though, as a former hotel GM, I wonder, I mean, you're making decisions, pricing decisions, hundreds of pricing decisions on behalf of the hotel and implementing them. This is not recommendations. And so what are the results? How do you convince the old school hoteliers that want to go based on their instinct and their experience and don't trust the system?
Yeah, we have a path kind of to take people through that. So from the implementation process, we have a kind of a phased approach. So the system just doesn't get turned on, from one day to the next. There is a learning involved for the people that are using the technology, and there's a learning involved for the system as well to learn about the hotel. So there is a certain period of time in the beginning where the system makes the decisions, but the decisions are not being sent somewhere. They're kind of kept within the environment, and then after a certain time, when the hotel feels comfortable, or the general manager feels comfortable, then the decisions can be uploaded into the different channels. And having said that, when we look at the data, we're working with some big brands, and we've just done some analysis with one of the big brands, and we found that 96% of all the decisions that are being made get accepted without anyone adjusting it or overriding it. So there is functionality in the system to adjust the forecast and adjust the pricing. But when we get to the large scale that we have and millions of pricing decisions that are being made every year, then we find that most people actually trust the system and find that it does the job better over a period of time than a human can.
Okay, so your systems are partly responsible for those high room rates I'm seeing when I'm trying to plan my summer vacation out there. There's no deals out there anymore. Okay.
Do you want me to react to that?
No, that's okay. I'm sure you have a response to that, but we're going to jump because I want to get to our questions from listeners, and we're kind of running out of time. But I do want to maybe, Sebastian, if you could give us a quick answer, maybe tell us, you talked about what hoteliers can do now using generative AI. Where do you see it going in the future?
Big question. I need 1 hour more. No, so if we don't speak about ChatGPT, but more generative AI, I see many opportunities. First one is for chain that want to develop new concept, a new hotel. You can imagine with all the data we can collect, from markets, from audiences, from branding, interior design, and from all topics around a hotel, you can imagine that AI could generate the best hotel concept for a tailored target group of audience. I don't know how long it will take that everything can merge together, but I think it will become a super tool to be able to create and test on the market a specific concept. A second thing is regarding sustainability. Sustainability is a hot topic as well as ChatGPT for hotel, because many regulations are coming in a lot of markets, and I see generative AI can help us to be more eco-friendly guest, but also to be able to optimize more buildings. I know many new brands are coming in the hotel game with new concept, more efficient and with less footprint on the climate. So I guess AI and generative AI can help to find a new model, among this challenge. One example I had in mind, and I was discussing with a hotel about this. For example, in a restaurant, thanks to the data of your POS, you can imagine that all the data generated and from your guests to the POS could help us to, for example, generate the best menu for your restaurant, to have less waste, to be able to really perfectly match your guests and their food preferences. It could be a concrete application on how to use generative AI. One last thing I have in mind, it's not so far because I think it's something we'll get this year, more and more CMS, tools that can that help us to manage website. CMS, content management system. You see more and more CMS brands adding ChatGPT and generative AI, like Notion. Someone spoke in the comment about Notion AI, and I think the way we will build website as well for hotel, and the way marketing teams will interact with website will really change in the next months. Basically, you are thinking about a new offers on your website. You will just be able to prompt it, or even more, to connect with your emailing data and generate a new page on your website. And I think this will be fully automatized, more and more.
So that leads me to my next question, because this scares me, and I think it scares a lot of people out there. As marketers, content creators, are we going to be out of work? Klaus, can you really quickly, in like a minute, I know it's a huge topic, but how is AI going to affect hotel jobs? Is it going to replace a lot of them?
I don't think it's going to replace a lot of them. It shifts people from one task to the other. A lot of time it's going to be shifting people away from manual, kind of repetitive tasks to something that might be more strategic or more broader focused. Like just like a revenue management system, right? It moves people away from building spreadsheets and running reports in Excel to focusing on rate setting for the future and the right mix of demand and the right strategy and distribution, marketing and sales and other areas. So it's a shift of the tasks, not so much a job that will go away.
Okay. But perhaps more efficiencies in the sense that we've talked before, but maybe one revenue manager is handling 5 hotels in the future could potentially handle 10 hotels within the same time.
Absolutely, yeah, and that scale is going to increase, right? There is with the shortage of labor in the hotel industry specifically, you do have a need to make more decisions at scale, and there's already large teams working at central levels rather than at property levels that make decisions across multiple and large numbers of hotels, and that number is certainly going to increase. And we're working very closely with a lot of our clients to enable them to make those decisions at scale, at the central level rather than at the hotel level.
But at least for the for the time being, anyway, we still need revenue managers.
Yes, because we need them to set the actual rates. Coming back to your previous point about increasing rates, so we don't actually come up with the rates that the hotels set.
Right.
We, the hotels set the boundaries, the upper and lower boundaries, and then our system operates within the boundaries that the hotel set. So you still need somebody at the hotel to say, here's my upper boundary and here's my lower boundary. We don't do that for the hotels.
Blame the hoteliers, not the system. Got it.
I'm not blaming anyone.
Okay, last question for Raphael. Another big question, but if 1 minute, then we'll take a question or two from our listeners. So please send us questions if you have them. Raphael, how do you think AI is going to change day-to-day life in hotels in the future?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel, today we see a lot of known existing possibilities like virtual assistants, you say AI review response, dynamic pricing, direct booking, tailored to a specific guest, loyalty and commercial opportunities all around. But there's also a very futuristic thing, like, I don't know, some of our clients feel like we're at some point to create like a virtual assistant, which is going to be like your best friend at the hotel and all of this. But this it's kind of more far away from the reality. The reality is like, let's try to be a bit of more like near future. So actually, let me do a question. What about guest experience? Sorry, because it's kind of like the topic, but in terms of the guest experience, what's the future of this? And I mean, I can imagine like a very AI-based model, which is going to support all of the guest experience strategy. So imagine a good, because this model is not ChatGPT. I mean, GPT, the model behind Exen, is a very good model, which is able to consume huge amount of data, create patterns, and push back with summarization, conclusion, and even very good insight. So the question is, why we don't get all of this data and we use all of this information in guest feedback, preferences, in-state surveys, reviews to create model that help us to predict operations, predict the future based on needs, based on and resources availability, and so on. So, and with that, you can plan your operations, you can plan your touch points, and you can plan accordingly to avoid any possible service break and anticipate situations. So personalizing the stay, during the stay, simple. I mean, if you always ask for extra towels every time you come from my hotel, why a model can just predict like you're going to do it and you just get in advance and you provide it? What about if you have allergy? I know it from your preferences. Why my digital dining is not offering you a very tailored menu instead of showing you a bunch of options you don't even need? So this is the type of thing you can imagine on top of upselling and options like being at the hotel, how I communicate with you in a very proactive way using AI models to offer you exactly what you need. This is the type of thing, I mean, which we are thinking about maybe sometimes many futuristic options when we have other industry applying very good AI models today, which we can actually import to the hotel industry to improve significantly the guest experience.
So it really gets those creative juices flowing when you think about potential applications within the hotel industry.
Yeah.
I love that there's been this conversation going on in chat where attendees are talking to each other and exchanging information and advice, and I love to see it. First question for our Q&A then, and again, feel free to send in questions you have. We're going to take a few more minutes and then we'll have to end the webinar. But I think this is a good question for you, Klaus. I think a lot of tech leaders and researchers have been warning us that AI tools present profound risks to society and humanity. What do you think? Does AI represent a true risk to our existence, or will it lead to a utopia where humans can work less and enjoy life more?
Yeah, I think there is a risk. That's how I feel about it after having listened to quite a few conversations between people that are very deep into that area. There is a risk that machines will get smarter and smarter, and ultimately, they'll be smarter than humans, and then nobody knows what will happen then, right? When we're perceived as not being the smartest people around or the smartest beings around anymore. So I compare it to kind of with the car. In the beginning, cars went very slow when you think about the early 1900s. And then they got faster and faster, and people started getting killed. And then eventually, the governments around the world decided to put seatbelts on people and restrain them to make sure that they're not getting killed. So, a little bit similar with AI. People are all excited about it. It's going to make us work faster and more efficient and be more productive. But there is a risk that in the end, eventually it might get out of hand. And I know a lot of governments are thinking about how to restrain and how to put the right guardrails in place to make sure that it is responsible AI. So that's one area. The other area is the amount of misinformation. AI feeds off data that is publicly available, right? It's on the internet. And it's the models are built by humans, so there is a inherent risk of bias in the models, and there's an inherent risk of misinformation, where people just take it as the truth, whatever the ChatGPT spits out. And we've seen many instances that the AI models start hallucinating and coming up with answers that are clearly not true or not relevant. And ultimately, everyone should be careful to just trusting the answers that are given because it is not always correct. Sometimes it's very evident that it's not correct, but sometimes it might not be as evident. So we'll still have to fact check and double check for a long time.
So are you telling me that image that went viral of the Pope Francis in the white Balenciaga puffer jacket isn't real?
I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm just the AI. I'm not really a real person, or maybe the people that are chatting on the webinar here are not really chatting. It's all bots, right? So we have to be very critical, I think, about how we're approaching it, and we're all excited about it, and it's going to make our life easier. But in many instances, we just have to make sure that it's not taken at face value. We just have to critically think about the answers we're getting, the information we're getting, and make sure that we feel, and we know that it's the right information, and not maybe just kind of take it whatever is on the screen. I'll post a link to a podcast that I listened to over the weekend, actually, in the chat for everyone. So that'll be if I can do that, actually, to everyone, and everyone can form their own opinions afterwards. But there's lots of good information out there.
Great, thanks, Klaus. Yeah, it was Jeffrey Hinton, who's known as the godfather of AI, and recently left Google due to his concerns about the direction AI was headed. And he said that the risk is that people will not know what's true anymore. So
Correct. Correct.
Certainly we are going to all have to be a lot more scrutinize sources and the information we're seeing more so than ever. Now, I want to end with one last question. This is a great question for Sebastian. You're still with us. And is Google going to be dethroned by AI? They seem to be a little late to the game. And I think what's really interesting with Bing search is Bing suddenly going to be relevant again? What do you think?
It's a good good point. Yeah, I'm looking actively of Bing shares of the market because it tends in the US over the last weeks that Bing is gaining again market share. I mean, small, but still, you know. And I'm a big fan myself of Google, and since a few weeks, I'm trying to also search on the new Bing because it's really a new experience. I'm not worried for Google in a way of they are really trying to make the search secure because as everybody said today, the problem with ChatGPT, you need to double check. You know, you cannot just trust what ChatGPT tell you because sometimes it's false or not accurate. The good news for Google is I'm sure when they will arrive with a final product, it will be to guarantee the search is 100% good. I mean, not maybe, you know, they need to be good. The big question behind is more about what will be the business model, because we know Google is winning money with ads, and on ChatGPT, you know, the question with ads is a huge matter because you know, Booking is spending 3 billion per year on ads on Google. So in a ChatGPT world of search, what's happening to the 3 billion that Booking.com gives to Google? I have no idea, but this will be super interesting in the coming months. You know, if we will have a ChatGPT, you know, ads search or not. Yeah, nobody has the answer, I guess.
Did you have something to add to this, Raphael?
No, I mean, couldn't be more in agreement with both. And Sebastian, I think the biggest concern is that. So it's a model will give you a response based on a training, which was made with some data and was tagged by human learning reinforced, meaning somebody was saying, this is a good response, this is not a good response. So have some people, human criteria to decide what is good, is what is bad. And taking the example of Google will provide you with a set of links based on your search. You have the final decision to say, okay, let me use this link, against this source, based on whatever is your values, whatever is your orientation. Remember, for a certain type of question, depending on your orientation, one will be a good response or a bad response or intermediate response. So the source and the ability to choose between different sources, I think, still being relevant. And who is taking the decision to tell me that response is the right one or the wrong one, just from one side. Secondly, the bias of the information based on the training and the reinforcement apply. And third, who knows what Google is going to do and how Google is going to fight against this in this amazing space race we are seeing in the last days.
And I think Google most biggest opportunity is they have Android, so they have millions of phones in the hands of millions of people. So I think in terms of data, they have a huge advance, you know, on Bing or Microsoft, you know. But Microsoft with the Excel and Office suite, they have a huge also advance in terms of companies using private data. So I guess we'll have a ChatGPT for each companies, you know, like you will have your own data set based on what you are doing on Outlook, on Excel, but this won't be public. It will be a private intelligence, you know. We'll see.
So we don't have to worry about Google for now. Google is going to be just fine. Now, I did want to quickly add that what I love about Bing conversational search is that they provide links and context. You know where the information is coming from. on Chat GPT, I'm often wondering, okay, this sounds really smart, but where did it come from? And who produced it? And who owns that intellectual property? That conversation is for another webinar because we're way over time. Thank you for your patience. A big thanks to our panelists for sharing your expertise today. Klaus Kohlmeier of Ideas. Klaus, thank you.
Thank you.
Sebastian Felix of Influence Society. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Rafael Patino of Shiji Review Pro. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll see you again soon at the next Shiji Buzz.